Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the REDX podcast. I'm your host, Haley Johnson, and we have an awesome podcast prepared for you guys today. We brought back one of my favorite guests that we've ever had on the show. Actually, the first podcast that I ever hosted. I did it with Knolly Williams here. So this is really exciting. It's been a few months since we've chatted, Knolly, but welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Haley. I'm so happy to be here. Super excited to be here, and I got to tell you, you're doing a phenomenal job. You took the helm right when more or less COVID was kind of, springing its ugly head, and you've done great. You've been educating us. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Today, we have a lot to get into, so I'm really excited. But before we get started, as always, I just want to tell the audience that this is a participatory event. We do this live so that you can ask Knolly all of your questions that you have, and we'll try to get all of those answered today. But just chat into wherever you're watching, Facebook, our website, YouTube, things like that, and we will get those answered. And then just a way of announcement, next week we will not have a podcast. We're taking the week off for the holidays, but we will be back the following week for on New Year's Eve, Thursday. So let's get started. The title of this podcast today is the 8 Key Steps to Success in 2021. So we're like, I don't know, 2 weeks away from the new year, and a lot of excitement comes with that. And so I'm excited that we are going to talk about the future and what agents can do to have the best year yet in 2021. Is that safe to say, Knolly?
Very safe to say, and it's very accurate.
Oh, awesome.
In fact, I'm going to do something different right off the bat. I'm going to grab a different book. This is a book that I absolutely love by Richard Maybury. We call him Uncle Eric affectionately. This guy is an economics professor. Okay, so you might think that that's going to be boring reading, but this one is called Personal, Career, and Financial Security. He talks about that. So, and in this book, Uncle Eric talks about what we call models, MODEL, models. And there are models to success. A lot of people don't realize this, but there are models. And a lot of times people don't really follow a model. And so the way he puts it is he says, just imagine, and by the way, Haley, everything that we do in life revolves around a model. So for example, if you go out to your vehicle in the morning, they're in Utah, and you and you crank it up and it just clicks, it doesn't start. Well, based on the auto mechanics, if you're a mechanic, it could be one of 3 things. And so, it could be the battery, it could be it doesn't have fuel, and one of 3 things. Now, let's say you didn't have a model, you didn't know how cars run. Well, what you do is you would look at the ashtray and say, oh, the ashtray is full. You empty it out, put it back. Does that help? No, it didn't help. Well, then you go check the windshield wiper fluid, and you'd say, okay, now the windshield wipers fluid is full. Let's see if that works. Doesn't work. Okay. But by understanding models, when you understand the model, you don't have to go through all that. And a lot of real estate agents don't really, they haven't really put together the right models, or they haven't discovered the right models. That's why you have this show every week to share the right models. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, those 8 key steps.
I love that. That was a perfect introduction to what we're going to talk about today. So why don't we get started? You're going to tell us about your model that you've come up with, these 8 key steps. And if I were watching, I would get out a pen and paper and make sure that you're taking notes on everything that Knolly's going to teach us today. He's going to take us to school, and it's going to be awesome. So let's get started with number 1.
Well, number 1. So, and by the way, I put together a handy sort of a cheat sheet that I'll kind of hold up and show. And Andrew can flash a quick copy of it on the screen just so you could see it quickly. And what you're seeing here is that there really are 8 pillars. And what I want you to think about is sort of like one of those Colosseum buildings, or a Greek Colosseum, where when you look at these pillars, each circle represents sort of the base of a pillar, and that goes all the way up. Well, that's your foundation. So the 8 keys, and I'm gonna rattle them off quickly, are mindset is number 1. Then there's activities, people, systems, tools. Then there's money, accountability, and training. So If that's still flashing on the screen, you can take that off. Andrew, thank you so much for showing that. We're gonna provide each and every one of you with the PDF version of this, just so you'll have it. Because on the back of it, I've got notes on every single area. Now, before I get into that, I'm going to share with you, I started as an entrepreneur at the age of 13. Okay. By the time I was 22 years old, I have not had a W-2 since I was 22. I'm 50 now. So for the past 28 years, I've done a lot of things right and I've done a lot of things wrong. When I was 29 years old, I started my first real company when I was 23. After from the time I was probably 12, 13, I did all kinds of stuff. But then I became a W-2, a 1099 at the age of 22, and officially really quit any other job at 23. My wife thought I was crazy, but he's put up with this for 28 years. But I made my first $1 million when I was 29. In fact, that year I made $2 million, and I always wanted to make $1 million, and I made $2 million that year. And since then, that's been 21 years ago, and I've made many millions since. And I've discovered through the process of really studying success. Okay, what do successful people do? How do they achieve success? Success leaves clues, and there is a model that we can follow. And the reason I even bring all that up is because these are the 8 pillars that I discovered. If you don't have these, you're really almost doomed to fail. When you look at it, Haley, USA Today did a study, and they found that 80% of small businesses, not just real estate, but 80% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years. Well, interestingly, there was another study done, and it was done by Forbes. And they said that 80% of franchises, we're talking Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, just a franchise, not talking real estate, 80% of those succeed, even if the business owner is brand new to business. So why is it that 80% of franchises are successful, whereas 80% of small businesses are failures? Well, this is really the answer, the 8 pillars. And so going into 2021, this is what we want to kind of focus on, is like, hey, we don't want to ever go back to the drawing board like, hey, I got to start over from scratch. No, you get the foundation in place, and then all you do is tweak and adjust from year to year, So, starting first with mindset.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, we talked about this the first time. The mindset is really the critical key. You've got to get your mind right. One of my favorite books, let me see if I have it here. Is it out on loan? It might be. So my favorite book for this is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. There are many books that I do recommend for mindset, but that's the first and foremost one. Read that. I highly recommend it. You get it on Amazon. And interestingly, Dr. Murphy says that the 2 principal reasons for failure, okay, and it would never occur to most people, is number one, okay, the first one is lack of confidence. Lack of confidence. So really, Haley, that is belief. There's something to be said about the whole idea that you've got to believe the thing before it comes into play. So belief is the first thing. And the second reason for failure, he says, is too much effort. Now, that sounds crazy. Too much effort. Yeah, too much effort. And so what we find is that a lot of people are putting a lot of effort into the wrong things, and success is about doing the right things in the right order. Because you can do the right things out of order and you don't get the success, at least not to the degree that you should have it. So mindset is really first and foremost. In my book, Success with Listings, I have a whole chapter where I talk about nothing but mindset. It's one of the bigger chapters here. But so mindset is first and foremost. Okay. And I could actually go on for hours about that, but I want to kind of go through these and then just pick up any questions that people have.
Yeah, well, I want to say So there's a reason we talk about mindset first, and why you said it's a big part in your book, because
Yeah.
without that, then everything else kind of doesn't happen. And like you said, too much effort. It seems like if you put things in the wrong order, like you don't put mindset as a priority, then like you said, that you're pretty doomed to fail. But I did want to ask you, and if anybody else has questions about mindset before we move on to number 2, then be sure to chat that in. But with lack of confidence and too much effort, let's relate that to real estate and give agents specific things that they can do to increase their confidence and make sure that they are doing the right things at the right time, the right order. So do you have any like specific tactical things that an agent could do right now?
Yeah, so I would say for mindset is really about getting the subconscious mind and the conscious mind on the same page. And that's really, and without getting too, out there with it, that everything that we do in real estate is psychology. It's psychology. I got my license in 2003. I'm a real estate broker as well. So I've been a broker since 2008. And I sold over 1,000 houses my first 10 years in real estate. In fact, my first 74 days in the business, I took 21 listings. And it really boiled down, though, to having the right mindset going in. And so what I always teach my students is, or my coaching clients is, for example, you're going up to a listing appointment, or you're about to pick up the phone and you're about to call someone back, or you're about to make a call to a past client or to your sphere of influence. And you get that little feeling in your gut. Just imagine you drive up to the listing appointment. You know you're there, but it's like you're not sure how it's going to go. So you get that little feeling. And what I tell, one of the practical things that I teach my students is, that's not fear, that's excitement. Okay. So when I'm about to get on the REDX podcast with Haley, I'm like, oh man, Haley's a big deal. I'm going to be in front of people, And so it's like, wait a minute, that's not fear. Because that little feeling that people have, there's like a 1 degree difference between fear and excitement. So let's say, for example, you're on a TV show, you just want a brand new car. Okay. So your heart starts pulsing, you start getting sweaty palms, you can't speak, you're shaking. And the only difference, Haley, you know what the difference between what it looks like between fear and excitement is? A smile. That's the only difference. Because when you're walking into that listing appointment, I had a client that I coached on her first listing appointment with strangers. She had listed her family and friends, but this is the first time when she was actually going out to what she called strangers. And she fist bumped the air when she got out of the listing because she crushed it. And she was like, she knew from that point on that it would never be difficult again. And so the practice that she did was she was still had that what people call nervous feeling. Yeah. She smiled. So when you're like this, like if I'm really nervous and I'm like this, I'm like, man, that guy's nervous. But if I'm like this, it's the same thing, but the smile is what makes a difference. So that's a very tactical thing. And then again, the other thing is really, really commit to your own personal development. Okay. Commit to your personal development. There's a reason why I read about 1 or 2 books a week. Most of them are in the personal development space. Most people would have zero interest whatsoever reading most of the books on my shelf. And I'm okay with that because there are very few books that you really need to read to succeed. And I have, usually I'll have a book around each one of these, but get real clear on the idea of committing to your own education and committing to personal development, becoming the best version of yourself. Because when you do that, everything becomes easier. Everything becomes easier. So those are some tactical things that you can do. Yeah.
I love that the smile thing, because I'm usually nervous before I get on these podcasts and things, and it really is just channeling your energy into a positive place instead of a negative place, because we all feel those things. It just depends on where we put it. And I like that, just smiling, and how that affects our minds if we just smile and are positive. And then we're set up for success. That's awesome.
It sounds crazy, but it works. And I know when I speak to a large audience, there's still not a time that goes by when I don't walk out on stage. Well, nowadays, we haven't been doing that lately, but when you walk out on stage, you still, it's just there. And so a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just walk out and smile. And I just look. Pretty soon people just start laughing. They're like, and it breaks up, it breaks it up a little bit. So
and it's contagious.
It's contagious. And even Michael Jackson, when he was on the planet, he said, they asked him, they said, when was it? You started performing when you were 3 years old, 4 years old. When was it that you finally got over the fear of performing in front of a group? He said, what do you mean? I've never gotten over it. They said, well, what are you talking about? You go out there and do it all the time. He says, but I haven't gotten over it. He said, the butterflies are there every single time. And so it's just a matter of smiling and, and moving forward. But the truth is, mindset is so critical, because if you don't have the right, see, who is your best friend when it comes to reaching your goals? You are. And who's your worst enemy when it comes to, reaching the goals that you've set? And so that's why when you have not learned to tame the mind, to master the subconscious, you're doomed to fail. You're doomed to fail, because your subconscious mind is there to keep you safe.
Right.
And when you say things like, for example, when I would say things like I did 100 deals a year for 10 years in a row. So when my first goal was to do 40 deals a year when I was coming out of real estate school. And people thought I was crazy. But when I talked to my coach, she said, why would you do 40? Why don't you do 100? I said, what? That was even sounded really crazy. And she told me this. She said, Knolly, I guarantee you one thing. I said, tell me what you guarantee me. She said, I guarantee you that if you set your sights on doing 100 deals a year, you'll work half as much as if you do 40. And she was never more true, never more true. And I didn't understand it at the time. Didn't make sense to me, because I was like, no way I want to do 100 deals. That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it really is, because we get into leverage. When you go high volume, it changes the way you think, rewires the brain. And because the plan that you have to do 100 deals is different from the plan that you have to do 10. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so I had a teacher used to tell me, man, reach for the stars. At least you'll hit the treetops, So sometimes we have to dream a little bit bigger. But if you can't dream big because your mind is in the way, you've got to expand your mind. And that comes through books like The Power of Your Subconscious Mind and many others, actually.
Yeah, I like that. That speaks to me a lot. You set your own limitations without even knowing it. So you fall short of so much that you're capable of. You just don't even know it because your mind's stopping you. Absolutely. That's awesome. Well,
Absolutely.
we still have 7 to get to, and I want to get to all of these. So but this is awesome. So thank you. And I think mindset is the most important. So I'm glad that we started with that. But why don't we move on to number 2?
So number 2 is activities. So you start with mindset, then you start doing so mindset is about what are the right thoughts to be thinking. What's the way to think? Well, what should you be doing now that you're thinking right?
Right.
And really it boils down to, at the end of the day, I teach a few things, but it boils down to what we call do the 2. Mm-hmm. It's sort of a trademark of what I teach. When Gary Keller wrote The Millionaire Real Estate Agent in 2003, he taught us that we should lead generate for 3 to 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. Now, what I've found, Haley, is that I just can't get my students to do it. And so I've come up with a thing called Do the 2. And what that is from 9 to 11 every single morning, you do lead generation. Okay, that lead generation is the one activity, because when we talk about how do I get a paycheck, I've got a wire that should be hitting my account any minute now. I just closed one this morning, and then I should get that wire. But see, I'm not going to get that wire, okay, until I get that contract on the deal, right?
Right.
Until I have the house under contract. But I'm not going to have it under contract until I actually have the listing, and I'm not going to have the listing, okay, until I have the listing appointment. I won't have the listing appointment. I won't have the listing appointment until I actually have a conversation with someone, a pre-listing conversation. I won't have a pre-listing conversation until I have a prospect, and I will not have a prospect until I lead generate. You see, lead generation is the catalyst of all this. And so prospecting equals paychecks.
Right.
Not prospecting equals poverty. Okay. And so when we talk about activities, the first and foremost activity is lead generation, and that should be set from 9 to 11, Monday through Thursday. Okay. Uncle Nolly's going to give you a break. Not Monday through Thursday. So I call it a 2x4, 2 hours a day, 4 days a week. And I guarantee you, if you just do that, you will succeed. You will succeed. I don't care if you want to do 50 deals a year, 40, 30, or 100 deals. You'll succeed with that system. Okay.
Wow. Yeah, and I want to repeat this because it was pretty powerful to me. Prospecting equals paychecks, not prospecting equals poverty. That's powerful. That is something like it hit me because it's true. Like if you're not doing the tasks that it takes to get those listings or that paycheck that comes, that commission check, then it doesn't matter. Like if you focus on the wrong things, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, those things don't happen. Like you get too caught up in all of the fluff of real estate that you're not getting down in the dirt and prospecting.
Right. You know, I mean, it does have its rewards. I mean, I live in a house that's paid off. I don't have debt. My cars are paid off. And here's the thing, you know, I did the right things, and that's what I'm teaching each person here. I'm not bragging about it. I'm teaching everyone here that's watching. You can do the same thing. This is not an exclusive formula. Success is looking for a good home to live, a good place to hang out. That's all success is doing. So success is not like, oh, let me see. I'm gonna give success to Andrew. I'm gonna give success to Haley. Oh, I'm gonna skip that person. Success isn't that way. Success is, you know, for whoever is willing, but you've got to do the right things in the right order for success to stay.
Right.
Okay. Because it can't hang out. If, like Jim Rohn said, if you got $1 million today, you best become a millionaire real quick if you want to keep the money. And so that's all about mindset. You know, that's why a lot of people can get $1 million and go broke. That's why I did it. I got my $1 million when I was 29, 33 years old. I had to file bankruptcy. Okay. I was broke. And I tell you something, Haley, I tried broke. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. So that's activities. That's number 2. And by the way, one of the big questions I get all the time, Haley, people are asking me, you know, what should I do while I'm doing the 2? Like now I'm in my lead generation bunker. I've done everything you teach.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? And that's where, you know, REDX comes in. You know, I cut my teeth from the very beginning using REDX. Probably was a month into real estate when I started my, you know, and so, you know, from the very beginning of my career, that's how I got, kicked off. What I teach, so I wrote another book that I give away. It's a free book. You pay the shipping. We send it out to you, called Triple My Listings. It's 27 marketing ideas for free seller leads, you know, because that's what REDX is all about too. Is we want to go after more sellers, you know? And so this book is, if you go to my website, knolly.com, you can get it there. And I wrote this for a group that I teach called Mentorship Masters. It's a group that I lead, because they kept asking me like, Knolly, what do I do? I'm in my lead generation bunker. I was like, crap, let me put a free book out and I'll give you 27 things. And all you do is you just go to a page in here. You say, okay, I like number 8. What I tell people is when you get the book in, don't do all 27. Just pick, you know, the 3 or 4 that resonate with you. Don't do anything else. That's all you focus on. And then when you want to expand, you introduce another one and another one, so on. So that's activity. Yeah, activity.
That's awesome. We did have a question from Steven.
Okay.
He asked, so what are you doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
I chill. In fact, let me rephrase that. So Friday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Here's what I teach. Monday through Thursday, 2 hours in the morning, lead generation, 2 hours in the afternoon, appointments. Okay, that's where you have carved out to go on appointments. And the truth is, most real estate agents don't realize how easy it is if they just follow a system, a model that's good. And the reality is, if you wanted to do, say, 30 deals a year, then I guarantee you, if you're lead generating every single day, Monday through Thursday, for 2 hours, that's 8 hours, with the goal of generating at least one prospect that's ready to do something per week. That's 50 prospects, 52 prospects. assuming you take some time off for vacation, say 50, and you're going to have your 30 deals just like that. And there really are only 3 lead buckets. Let me throw those out. That's your sphere of influence, your farm, and your niche. Those are the 3 buckets. 1,000 deals I did, that's where they all came from, those 3 buckets. And so the niche is really when you get into expires, for sale by owners, et cetera. So now Friday, when I was active, so I'm 50 years old now. When I was 45, that's when I got the bug. I say I was called into full-time ministry. I got the bug to go out and teach. I like teaching. So that's when I paid off my house, and I didn't stop selling real estate, but I went down on production. You don't have to do that. You could keep your team going and all. I just let it go. I just moved on to, now I still produce at our company. I still cap every year. People, know what capping is. But my last year in active production, I did 153 deals. And I got to tell you, all my staff will tell you, my assistant that I hired 8 months in the business, and she stayed with me through my whole career. I took every Friday off. I didn't work Fridays. Okay. And I took weekends off. In fact, I took nights and weekends off and Fridays off. And I did over 100 deals a year. So that's what I teach. And that's the model that I bring to people is, nights and weekends off, $250,000 or more a year, taking 4 to 5 vacations a year, working 20 to 30 hours a week or less, and being debt free. Those are the 5 pillars of what I teach, And so if you want a real estate business like that, so back to the question, what do you do on Friday? I don't know. You tell me and let's get together.
That is amazing. So many people get into real estate, and I hear things like, I'm on part of Facebook groups and things like that. And there's like memes about how like they never get a day off, or they never get a moment to themselves because they're so busy. But what I'm hearing from you is it sounds pretty simple. But I think agents can get sidetracked, or they can start focusing on the wrong things, or like we said, in the wrong order. So you just have to focus on the right things, right time, and you can have all the things that you just listed. Like, that sounds perfect.
Some people think it sounds too good to be true, but I'll tell you,
right.
I mean, it's not. And but it is difficult to do when you're working buyers. Now, I teach listings. This is what 96% of my career was listings. Okay, so that when you work the listing side of the business, it's a whole different game.
Right.
My clients don't call me on nights and weekends. I'm a lister. I list homes. So they're not going to call. And if they ever call me after 5 o'clock, Haley, you know what the first thing they do? They apologize. When's the last time you had a buyer do that? No. So buyer business is a nights and weekends business. The listing business is like a Monday through Friday type business. And I just happen to run my Monday through Thursday. But again, it's going to be very difficult to do unless you have these 3 here, which we're going to get into next. Okay. And that's what we call PST, people, systems, and tools. And that's leverage. Okay. That's leverage. And so in 2021, you want to have the right mindset. You want to be doing the right things, and you want to surround yourself with the right people. That's number 3, the right people. These are people that can help you move forward, not backward. You want to have the right mentor, you want to have the right coach, and you want to have the right people in your organization, like maybe a transaction coordinator. In fact, what I teach, and this is our system that we use. Let me see. I hadn't planned on sharing this, but I might as well since we're here. So this is, for example, what I call my retail sale team. So I've got a retail team and I have a distress team. The distress team duties are like short sales, pre-foreclosures. The retail team is just, general listings. And if you look at this, you can see it's color coded. I don't know how easy you could see that. Yeah. So everything that's color coded is assigned to someone else. Anything that's not color coded is what I do. So I have a 46 steps listing system. And in my book, Success with Listings, I go through all 46 steps, what they are. And of those 46 steps, here's what I discovered, Haley. Most agents only have to do 3 to 5 steps, and they can delegate everything else. But you've got to have the right people in place. So I teach how to do that. And that's a big, and by the way, even when I delegate, it never costed me a dime out of pocket. Okay, because I have sponsors in my business. That's a whole nother thing. I teach all this stuff in my books, but just so you know, you've got to surround yourself with the right people. You know, the $12 an hour work that you're currently doing, those of you listening, or the $14 an hour work or $15 an hour work, I don't want you doing that. If it's not paying you $1,000 an hour, okay, $500 an hour, okay, $250 an hour. If you're not making at least that amount from, and by the way, Haley, it's hard for some people to distinguish what is dollar productive. They think everything's dollar productive. Well, I was out showing homes, that's dollar productive. No, I don't think so. I just closed one last month. I never showed them a house, and it sold for $605,000. Okay. And I had a showing assistant going out. I was paid $30 a house for that person to show homes. And my promise to the buyer was, look, when you find the home that you absolutely want to make an offer on, I guarantee you, I'll jump in my car and I'll go look at that house with you. Okay.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, and they're like, oh, Knolly, that's great. I like that plan, because, and I tell them, do you want me out there physically every time you see a house that you might like, or would you like me behind the scenes scouting out what's going on and looking at what's happening and maybe negotiating a better deal for you? Oh no, you it's just like the captain when you've flown on an airline on a Southwest. Okay. Mm-hmm. Does the captain come out and give you peanuts and give you a blanket or pillow? Hey, make announcements or give you a beverage? No, the captain's flying the plane. And I tell my clients, I say, don't get it wrong. You're not going to see me a lot, but I'm in the cockpit. That's why you don't see me. We're going from here to Seoul, right? That's where we're going. Yeah, we're going to Seoul. Well, you're not going to see me during the trip, but don't worry about it. I'm steering the plane to where we need to go. My team will handle all the details. And they're like, oh, that's great. We love that. We love that system. And so you got to have the right people. You got to have the right people. Now, people ask me all the time, well, what if I can't afford to hire someone? Well, I have 5 different systems that I write about on how to hire. So at first, you're going to have to pay per deal. It's called PPD. You're not going to be able to hire somebody full time because you don't have enough work for that person. And so every time you have a transaction, you should have a transaction coordinator that you pay $400 or whatever the price is to do that deal. And that guaranteed is going to free you up to do more business. Okay. You're not saving yourself any money by doing non-dollar productive activities, and you're not doing yourself any favors. Okay. So that's people. You got to align yourself with the right people. You have to have the right systems. Okay. The systems that you use in your business. And a system is just a way of doing things. So I have a system. It's right here. This is my listing system. And so it tells you who's going to do what. So I have a property assistant that does some things that are highlighted in yellow, and I have a team admin that does the things that are highlighted in blue. Whatever's in blue, you don't need a license for, and I can hire anybody to do it. What's in yellow, you need a license for, and I've got to hire a real estate agent to do that, and I pay them about $25 an hour. Okay. And then whatever's not highlighted is stuff that I personally do. I don't even have highlighted to attend the closing because it's not dollar productive. Mm-hmm. I have an associate that I pay $50 to attend my closings. Now I get it. Not everybody's going to be this anal with it. You don't have to be. You can take bits and pieces of this and make them, use them. You don't have to go all the way as cray as I am, but I'm a master of efficiency. I've always been super efficient, and I like my time, so people, systems, and then tools like REDX, tools that save you countless hours of time and frustration. You've got to be using the right tools. So that kind of covers those 3 PST. That's leverage. That's leveraging your business.
I love that. I love that you talk about efficiency, because just 2 seconds we were talking about your schedule, and people are probably like, how in the heck does he make this work? And it's because of efficiency. You make sure that you're doing the right things, and then you delegate the rest. Amanda Smith just chimed in a little bit before. She asked, what are some ways to delegate on a budget for a newer agent? I know you said the PPD method and things like that. Is there anything else that you would tell a newer agent in growing their team or the people that they're around?
Oh yeah, I do a lot of training for new agents. I love new agents. Because I was one myself once, and some people, they, by the way, one piece of advice I tell a new agent: never tell anybody you're new. They don't care. They just don't. You can tell Uncle Knolly, you can tell Haley, you can tell us. We're family. But hey, I'm brand new. I'm brand new to the business. Can I practice on your house? No. Nobody will really ask you how long you've been in the business, and if you really get out there and train, okay, you're going to know a lot more. Like in my one book alone, in Success with Listings, you're going to know more. Go to Amazon. It's an average 5-star rating. It's been out for 5 years, but you'll know more than most other agents anyway. So you don't have to worry about this whole idea of being new. You're telling us, and I appreciate you saying that. But what I share, what was her name? Amber?
Amanda.
So Amanda, what I teach from a leverage standpoint is you want to do these things. If you're brand new, you want to do paperwork a few times. Okay. You want to do it. And then, but just enough to be a little dangerous and you want to know what you're doing. That's the whole point. But once you kind of become a little bit proficient with it, that's when you need to let it go and delegate it. Okay. And again, it's going to go back to a pay per transaction. It's going to be a transaction coordinator that will help you per transaction. And it can be very deceptive, Haley, because I do the same thing. I'm like, I can handle this. It's only going to be a few phone calls, but you end up with that property that it ends up being a lot of phone calls and a lot of back and forth, and scheduling the cleaning and this and the inspections and all the stuff that goes into it. And it really is more than you think. And it's just not dollar productive. And if you're doing my system, you're going to be busy enough to where you're not going to have time for that anyway. So as a new agent, you're going to want to do a pay per deal. And I get into that. I have 5 chapters in this book. There's nothing but about hiring. By the way, there's a way if you're one of those new agents that's broke, you can't even afford the book, I'll send you guys a PDF of it, Haley, if you want to just give it out to people. An author makes about $1 per book. That's why a lot of my books, I just give them away. I don't keep your $1. Yeah. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, if somebody reaches out and they're like, hey, I can't, it's too expensive on Amazon, and they want it, I'll just send you guys a PDF. You can just give it to people.
Awesome. If anyone wants that, they feel free to email us at marketing@theredx.com, and we'll hook you up. NZ asked, is that system in your book? Which I'm assuming.
Yeah. But my book really is a system, and I simplify it. So whenever I've been given an aptitude test, by the way, they all say that I would be a failure as a real estate agent. Every single one of them says that I would be an absolute failure. Because of my personality profile. I don't fit the personality profile of a realtor. But I've learned, even though that's a handicap for me, I've learned how to turn it around and use it to my advantage. So, but what I'm supposed to be in this life is an engineer. That was supposed to be, but I never liked engineering. To me, I don't know what, I wouldn't enjoy doing that, I don't think, but that's what all the tests say that I should be doing. All the counselors told me I should go into engineering and all that. So when I write books like this, they're very, very systematic, but they're not written over someone's head to the point where they can't be usable. This is going to be very practical, and it's step by step. And if you're down with the REDX, you get a free copy. What's up? PDF.
There we go.
The reason I say for people to get the physical copy is because it's 430 pages. That's insane. 430 pages. So that's a pretty big PDF. It's kind of hard to comb through. But anyway, if you're one of those that likes to, try before you buy, or just read it on a device and never have the physical copy, a lot of people like that, then they'll be able to get it from you guys. So.
Awesome. Well, we had another question that was a little bit more about tools. And I want to talk about this because you mentioned having a niche and things like that. Manuel asked, what, in your opinion, is the best lead type to call between geo leads, like circle prospecting, there's for sale by owners, there's expireds, like what should you focus on?
Well, it really, so I'm going to answer the question this way. Find out what your personality profile is. Okay. And the way you do that, you can take the test for free on my website, knolly.com. KNOLLY.com. And I have a link to a free disc profile test. And Anthony Robbins has a great one too. Tony Robbins has one. I use a different one that's put out by a university. I kind of like it better. But at some point, you take that disc profile test, you learn what your profile is, and then you lead generate according to your personality profile, period. That's it. Okay. Now, I'll give you an example. When I did the REDX for years and years at the beginning of my career, I didn't like calling people. In fact, I've never made a cold call. Yet I've done a lot of business. And so what I did was I would send out postcards and letters to people. And I just did it that way. And it was very, 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 very effective. I can't tell you how many people would call me and say, hey, I got your postcard 6 months ago, and so on. Now, the other strategy is they might want to work old expireds, okay? Because those might be a little bit, but I would say, number one, first and foremost, find out what your personality profile is. And the way you know if it resonates with you is, how do you feel about doing it? Now, there's going to be things that we do in this business that we don't like doing, but if you generally feel kind of creepy about doing it, it probably just doesn't fit your personality profile. So now let's back up. The 3 buckets are your sphere of influence, your farm, having a rockin' farm. And I teach you how to farm for free. So you can have a 1,000 house farm, a 2,000 house farm, doesn't matter. You're not going to spend 10 cents on farming to those people ever, because you're going to have sponsors. Like a lawn care company, you're going to have maybe a fencing company, a roofer, whatever it is, and they're going to split the cost of that postcard mailing in 4 ways. You're going to have 4 sponsors on the back of your postcard. They're going to split it. You're going to use every door direct mail, EDDM, and you're not going to pay a penny. You're going to be the director of the program, but you're not going to pay for any of the cost out of your pocket.
Right.
I like to use GotPrint, GOTPRINT, for my printing and EDDM mailing, every door direct mail mailing. I'm probably getting into, I don't want to get too much into the weeds, because I do that in my book. Somebody came up to me years ago, said, I want to pick your brain. And it happened so much, Haley, that it was taken away from my business. And I didn't realize you could actually get paid for coaching back in the day. I didn't know that was a thing. So I would be on the phone for hours with people, just telling them all the stuff, because I like to teach. That's what I like to do. And so my wife was like, you need to be out there selling houses. I'm like, oh, crap. How am I going to do that? That's the reason why I wrote the book, because people want to pick. So I picked my own brain, took 430 pages, and it's all there. So we can get it. You'll get into the weeds in the book. But just to answer the question, I'd say, sphere of influence, farm, and whatever niche resonates with you. So when you're talking about niches, it could be homes on 1 or more acres, divorce, 50 plus, the 50 plus group. It could be farm and ranch. It could be probate, expireds. I love expireds. I mean, because that is the best, in my opinion. They've already raised their hand and said they want to sell. And the difficulty with expireds right now is that the market is so hot that the expireds that you get may seem to be kind of iffy. And that's why I like old expireds. And REDX can share all that with you on the old expireds and stuff.
Of course.
For sale by owner.
Yeah. So something that I loved is you talked about your personality profile that told you that you wouldn't be successful in real estate, because I hear a lot of people saying like, oh, I'm an introvert. There's no way I can cold call, or I can do this, or I can do that. But I like that you push to find what works for you and what your strengths are and build on that instead of trying to be something you're not. Like use what you are to your advantage.
In fact, let me show you something real quick. Let me see if I can find it. I'll be right back. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. I love this. We're getting a little taste of Knolly's library and everything. This is great.
All right. Now, I've never shown this, Haley. I'm going to do this for you. I've never shown this on live TV, right?
Whoa.
I've never done this before, but this is what we call, so I've taken aptitude test after test after test. They all say I'm a failure. Or they all say that I should not pursue real estate. But here's the thing. I didn't know that those tests existed, Haley, before I got into real estate. So I didn't realize that I couldn't do what I did. Like I found out later that I wasn't supposed to be successful at this. In fact, when I went to go, a lot of people may know this story. I was recruited to Keller Williams by Gary Keller. It just so happened at the time I was ranked number 7 in the city of Austin. There was about 9,800 agents that year in 2009. My production was number 7 of the 9,800 agents. And so Gary and I live in the same town. So his office called me. We had a 2-hour meeting. I was at REMAX. I was one of the top 10 REMAX agents in the state of Texas. And Gary, after we had a 30-minute meeting that lasted for 2 hours, kind of the way this call's going. And I ended up joining Keller Williams, and I was there for 10 years, loved every minute of it. But the point is, while I was there, I told him, I said, Gary, he said, what do you want? I said, I want to teach. I want to coach. He said, why do you want to do that? I said, I just like doing it. I didn't know there was any money in it, Haley, and I'm still trying to find some of that part of it in some ways, because I could make a lot more money just selling houses, but I like teaching. I'm a teacher. That's what I am, you know? And so if you like doing something, that's just what you like to do. And so he told me, he said, I guarantee you, if you called, I'll call MAPS Coaching and they'll hire you on the spot. So that's what happened. He picked up the phone, he called, and they hired me on the spot. Well, after they hired me, they did my test, whatever they called it. It was a AVA is what they call it. It was a like disc on steroids. And they found out that I was such a poor match for the position that they wouldn't even validate it. Like they wouldn't even call me back to say, hey, like they couldn't fire me because they had already hired me. And I did great at the job. I did great at the job, but it was an embarrassment. And so here's what I'd done my last year at Keller Williams. It's called the KPA. This is see what that says? Can you read that? A job fit report. This is my job fit report. Now look at this. How fit is Knolly Williams for the job of a mega agent? Okay. Look at my score. Can you see that? Not only a low fit, it's as low as you can go. I've never shown this to anybody except my students privately, but I figure it's time. Knolly, get over it, right? So you could be a low match. So here's what it says. This graph shows how well Knolly matches with the behavior and thinking traits required in the job of agent mega. You could be low, medium, or high. I'm low. I'm right there in low. I'm all the way low. And so I'm an introvert. A lot of people don't realize that some of the top people that run companies are introverts. And that's just what it's not a cop out, but what I did realize early on, Haley, is that I like teaching people. So when I went to a listing appointment, here's what I would do. I knew everything. I knew more than all the other agents about how to list a house. And when I went to the listing, I did a presentation for the listing person that was like a little seminar, because I was good at, teaching. I was a good teacher. So I would say, now here's why you want to list it, this, that. And they were just like, whoa. Where do we sign? But I didn't have the drive. Somebody else could go do it. Like Andrew could just walk in and say, hey, I'm Andrew. This is what I can do for you. Sign here. And they probably would have been a shorter listing appointment, So the point being, it doesn't matter what other people say. It doesn't matter what other people think. It only matters what you believe and what you think and what you put forward as your success. And then you find out. I can't go toe to toe with most real estate agents. I just can't. And that's why, just like Bruce Lee weighed about 130 pounds. You think he could go toe to toe with Mike Tyson? No, he's too tiny, but he could probably beat Mike Tyson. Okay. But he had to play a little different. He had some different techniques that he would use that in order to win. And that's all we're talking about here. So
I love that.
My last 3 points, and then
yes, we have a few more minutes, so let's get these.
Let's go real quick. So this pillar over here, pillar number 6, is money. Okay. And the question I always ask people is, who taught you what you currently know about money? Just think about it. Who taught you what you currently know about money? And the chances are it's somebody that didn't have, much. Like my dad, God rest his soul, wonderful man, beautiful guy, but he didn't have anything to teach me about money. The man never had any. Wonderful guy, taught me a lot of things about a lot of other things. Okay. But most people have learned about money from people that don't have the kind of money they want. If you want to start making doctor money, Okay. I've got a gal in our group. Her name is Susie Floyd. She was a nurse for 21 years, 21 years a nurse, okay, 23 years nurse. Okay. She retired from nursing. Okay. Her first year in real estate, she didn't do very well. Okay. Her second year, she joined me. She did over $200,000. Okay. Her third year, she just started last month. She did one transaction, and her paycheck was almost $90,000 from one deal. Her first week into her third year in real estate. Okay. And so here's the thing. When it comes to money, you see, now she's making more money. Susie's making more money than most of the doctors she used to work for. Okay. When it comes to money, who taught you what you currently know about money? And if it wasn't somebody that has what you want, then you got to get better teachers. You got to get better teachers, and that's why, like in our group, Mentorship Masters, I teach my people about money. I made my first million when I was 29, and I've made a lot of money since then, and I know about it. And so I teach it, but you got to have a good money consciousness, a good money mindset to succeed. Because what will happen, Haley, is you'll get a lot of money, you'll lose it. You'll be in feast or famine, and we don't want that. Then it's accountability. You've got to have someone hold you accountable. And I get it that a lot of people can't afford a coach. So I created a system in our group where instead of paying for a coach $1,000, now I'm not knocking coaches. I love coaches. I'm a coach myself, but a lot of people can't afford it. So I came up with an accountability partner system where you find another person that you're accountable to, and then you hold each other accountable. And it's real easy. What a coach does is they say, hey, Haley, how was your week? Oh, it was great. Did you meet, exceed, or fall short of your goal this week? Well, I kind of fell short. Well, Haley, let me ask you a question. What specific steps are you going to do, or what are you going to do next week so that when we're on the call together, you will have exceeded or at least met your goal? Well, I'm going to do this and that. Okay, Haley, have a nice week. I'll talk to you next week. You pay them $1,000 a month, a month for that. I'm not knocking them, but I'm saying I've created an accountability system that's very similar where, my agents get accountability. Okay. And if you don't have that, it's not an accountability buddy. It's a specific system. I have a YouTube video where I share with you how to do it, and then training. Okay. You have to have accountability, and accountability is important because you will not, you and I will not hold ourselves as accountable as others will. And we will do things for other people to say that we like if I'm accountable to you, Haley, and I know we're going to be on a call together, and I was supposed to make 20 contacts this week and I didn't do it. If it's just me, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'll get it next week. But it's like, oh, I'm on the phone with Haley this week. I'm not going to lie to her. So Let me bang out a few more calls. You're going to actually perform better when you have accountability. And that's why coaching works. Okay. And then training is exactly what you're providing right here, Haley, every single week. You've got to have the right training. You have to be careful who you're learning from. Very, very critical, very, very important. So those are the 8 pillars.
Wow. It has been almost an hour here of so much information that, and I've learned a lot. So this has been amazing. And so, Knolly, just to wrap up everything, looking forward to 2021, what is your final advice, last word that you could give the agents listening today to look forward to the next year? Yeah,
what I would say is rekindle hope and optimism. Rekindle hope and optimism. Don't give up on yourself. You are a success. You are a precious gem of God Almighty. And you're put on this planet for a very specific purpose, and you can fulfill your destiny. I have not found a better conduit to the fulfillment of one's destiny than the real estate profession. And so don't give up. If you're out there and you're people are like, go get a real job. Well, we've seen what's happened with that. All those that were like, go get a real job. And what's happened with jobs, since COVID hit. Believe in yourself, get these materials. You're going to get my book free. If you want triple my listings, we'll ship that to you, pay the shipping. The other one will send you the PDF. But don't give up on your hopes and dreams. And if you're not on track, okay, if you're on track, just keep on with what you're doing. If you're not on track, or someone who isn't, plug them in with this video right here, with this training, because these 8 pillars, when you download these 8 pillars, you snap those into your life, and all of a sudden you're going to be on the right trajectory. So that's the advice I would give.
Amazing. I can tell why you love teaching. You're very good at it. So thank you so much for taking us to school and teaching us all of these things. This has been amazing. Stephen even commented, said, I just bought the book. Can't wait to read it. So yes, all of the free resources that he mentioned, we will either put below the video so that you can click on all the links and things like that. Or if you send an email to marketing@theredx.com, we'll be sure to send you the PDF that Knolly will send us. But other than that, guys, I think that wraps up today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Again, we will be off next week for the holidays. We wish everybody a happy holiday season. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks on New Year's Eve. But I think that wraps it up. Thanks again, Knolly.
Thank you, Haley. Bye, y'all.